Hello everyone, welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to talk about understanding ourselves through groups. The focus will be on social identity theory, a fascinating way to explore how group memberships shape who we are. Over the next few slides, we'll dive into the key concepts and see how they influence our behavior and perceptions. Let's get started. Social identity theory helps us understand this deep, universal drive we all have to belong and identify with groups. It explains why our affiliations matter so much to us. Our groups influence the values we hold, the behaviors we choose, and even how we see ourselves in the world. Humans are inherently social creatures. Being part of a group is a fundamental part of our existence. We don't develop our identity in isolation. It's shaped through the networks we're part of. Whether it's family, friends, colleagues, or even national identities, these memberships are woven into who we are and how we view others. And this brings us to an important point. Who you are isn't just about the individual, it's also about the groups you belong to. So when we ask, who are you? It's more than just it, about the many groups that shape your identity and influence your view of the world. Now, let's talk about a really important part of how we see ourselves, the part that comes from the groups we belong to. This is what we call our social identity. It's essentially who we are because of our memberships and affiliations, like our family, our friends, our communities, or even our workplace. It shapes a big part of our self-concept, connecting us to others and giving us a sense of belonging. On the other hand, we also have our personal identity, which includes our unique traits, values, and characteristics that make us different from everyone else. These are the things that set us apart on an individual level. Now, according to social identity theory, developed by Henry Tajfel and John Turner, our self-esteem isn't just about personal achievements. A lot of it is actually tied to the groups we belong to. How we see ourselves can be heavily influenced by our group memberships, which can boost our confidence and sense of worth. This theory highlights that our self-concept has two layers: the personal layer, which is about who we are as individuals, and the social layer, which is about who we are because of our group memberships. And the core idea here is this transition from I to we. It's about understanding that our identity isn't just about individual traits, but also about our connection to larger groups. This interplay helps us understand our self-view within a social context, and it plays a big role in shaping how we perceive ourselves and others. Now, let's delve into the three interconnected processes that form the foundation of social identity theory. First, we've got categorization. This is where we sort ourselves and others into social groups, like being a student, a fan, or a citizen. It helps us simplify and organize the social world around us. Next, we have identification. This is when we emotionally invest in our chosen in-groups and adopt their norms and values. Essentially, these groups become a part of who we are. And finally, comparison. We tend to evaluate our in-group against out-groups, often in ways that make our group look good and boost our self-esteem. Together, these processes shape how we relate to groups and influence our sense of identity. Both biases serve the same psychological function, which is pretty fascinating. Essentially, when we elevate our group's status, it boosts our own sense of self-worth. It's like a way our mind reinforces our identity and confidence by feeling proud of the group we belong to. Now, on the flip side, we tend to view out-groups, those outside our circle, less favorably. We often attribute negative traits to them and scrutinize their actions more harshly. This tendency helps us justify our favoritism toward our own group and can create a bias against others. Speaking of favoritism, this is what we call in-group favoritism. We instinctively favor members of our own group, trust them more, give them more resources, and tend to see their actions in a more positive light. It's almost automatic, and it's rooted in this powerful psychological drive to belong and to enhance our group's standing. And this all ties into the bigger theme of the us versus them mentality. It's a natural, if sometimes problematic, way our minds organize social groups, reinforcing boundaries and shaping how we perceive and treat others. Understanding this helps us see how these biases operate beneath the surface in many social interactions. Leaders are often chosen based on how closely they embody the group prototype, not just on their competence. What this means is that they need to fit the symbolic image that the group values. Importantly, these prototypes tend to be polarized away from out-group features, which sharpens the sense of in-group distinctiveness. Essentially, each group creates a mental image of its most representative, idealized member, a prototype. Now, this prototype isn't a real person. It's more like a composite or an ideal that reflects what the group values most. So, when we talk about prototypes, we're referring to the ideal group member, someone who embodies the core qualities and symbols that define the group's identity. This helps explain why certain leaders are perceived as more fitting. They match that mental image or prototype the group has in mind. Biased attitudes can have serious consequences, leading to unequal treatment and social harm. When we hold prejudiced views, we often act in ways that unfairly disadvantage others. Now, one way this happens is through applying group prototypes wholesale. That means we ignore individual differences and assume everyone in a group is the same. This can really distort our perceptions. Stereotyping is another key concept. It involves seeing people primarily as members of a group, which causes us to lose sight of their unique qualities and individuality. Depersonalization takes this even further. Instead of seeing the person in front of us, we see only their group membership, reducing them to a stereotype. And all of this ties back to categorization, a cognitive shortcut we use to process information quickly. It's efficient, but it's also risky when we rely on it without considering the nuances. This is the double-edged sword of stereotypes. They help us make quick judgments, but they can also reinforce biases and lead to unfair treatment. Understanding these processes helps us recognize how bias operates and why it's so important to challenge these automatic assumptions. Let's talk about how digital spaces really facilitate the quick formation of strong group identities. In these environments, norms, symbols, and even rivalries can develop rapidly. It's fascinating how online communities can create a sense of belonging almost overnight, but this can also lead to challenges like out-group hostility. For example, when people rally around shared symbols or beliefs, they feel a strong sense of unity. Now, moving to national identity, pride in one's country can be a powerful force for bringing people together, fostering a shared purpose and collective pride. But it's important to recognize that this same pride can sometimes tip into xenophobia if taken to extremes, leading to exclusion or hostility toward outsiders. Lastly, in the realm of sports fandom, intense loyalty to a team often forges very strong in-group bonds. Fans experience a sense of belonging and camaraderie, but this can also spark fierce rivalries with opposing fans. These examples show how group identities, whether online, national, or sports-related, play a significant role in shaping social dynamics and behaviors. Let's take a closer look at the foundation of identity, starting with the concept of belonging. Belonging is really about feeling connected to something or someone, and it's a fundamental part of how we see ourselves. When we feel like we belong, it gives us a sense of security and acceptance, which is crucial for our self-esteem. This connection can be to a community, a culture, or even a set of shared values. Belonging helps shape our identity because it influences how we view ourselves in relation to others. It's not just about fitting in, it's about feeling valued and understood. When we have that sense of belonging, it reinforces our sense of purpose and helps us navigate the world more confidently. In the context of our overall theme, understanding belonging is key because it highlights how social connections and acceptance form the core of who we are. It's the foundation that supports our growth, resilience, and sense of self. So, truly, belonging isn't just a feeling. It's a vital element that helps define our identity. Recognizing that others are equally shaped by their groups is a really important step towards genuine cross-group understanding. When we understand that everyone's identity is influenced by their social groups, it opens the door to empathy and connection. Fostering empathy involves understanding how in-group and out-group dynamics work. By doing so, we can actively counteract bias and help build more inclusive communities where everyone feels valued and understood. Reducing prejudice is about recognizing that our social identities are not fixed. They shift depending on the context. The group that feels most salient or important to us can change based on the situation we're in. This awareness helps us see others more clearly and with less bias. That brings us to the concept of dynamic identities. Our social identities aren't static. They're fluid and adaptable. This flexibility is key to understanding how we relate to others and how conflicts or cooperation can develop across groups. Social identity theory provides a powerful lens for understanding why conflicts happen, why cooperation is possible, and where prejudice originates. By recognizing how our identities work, we take the first step toward developing empathy and fostering better relationships across differences. Finally, understanding that identity extends beyond just the group allows us to see ourselves in a more nuanced way. We're not just defined by our group memberships, but by a complex mix of influences that shape who we are. This perspective helps us approach others with more compassion and openness, which is essential for creating truly inclusive communities.